on the 2017-2018 Asian Le Mans Series in Season Review. I am Nadia Nash and it has been a spectacular season. We had lots of fun and we hope you did as well. So this is Asia's premier endurance racing series. Naturally, it is the perfect stepping stone into the World Championships and of course, 24 Hour of Le Mans. So not only did we manage to see a record number of cars from the Asian series participating in the 2017 Le Mans 24 Hours, but the teams also achieved remarkable results. On top of that, history was made when we witnessed the first 6-hour race of the series. The season kicked off in Zhuhai, China. Let's find out more about the championship.
A brand new season with brand new faces and full throttle races. The Asian Le Mans Series 2017-2018 is set to light up Asia, featuring teams and drivers from 19 countries battling on 4 spectacular circuits for ultimate glory.
The quality of the lineup is really amazing, and it tells a lot about the attractiveness of Asian Le Mans being the platform for the ACO to develop endurance racing for both prototype and GT cars in Asia.
Very good to be back. This is definitely the big rendezvous of the end year season. The field is just great this year. Big level, big teams, I would say big international teams. Yeah, everything looks great so far.
All eyes will again be on the Jackie Chan DC Racing team, 3-time champions of the series who have this year excelled even further, making headlines at the 24 Hours of Le Mans race itself and in the World Endurance Championship.
To be honest, that was a dream that we didn't really dare to dream. Well, last year, one of the primary goals, not only to win the championship, of course results matter, but we want to use this as an exercise base for our program. To achieve what we achieved this year, I couldn't ask for more. It's already been the perfect story of Le Mans 24 for us.
I think it's a very important championship for us because many eyes will be focused on us. I think we're one of the leading teams in WEC, and not just from a driver standpoint, but also from a technical point of view. And Asian Le Mans gives us the perfect opportunity to basically train young and upcoming drivers, but also mechanics and engineers. And that's exactly what we use Asian Le Mans for.
Can they make it 4 titles this year? Catch all the Asian Le Mans Series action live streamed across the globe for the first time ever from each of the 4 rounds in China, Japan, Thailand and Malaysia.
Excitement and anticipation loom in the air with the 24 Hour of Le Mans invitations up for grabs. So let's find out how the first race of the year went down.
14 turns on the Zhuhai International Circuit, 9 rights, 5 lefts, and of that, of course, the first 3 sectors, the track is the 4.3 kilometer track is broken up into 3 sectors, and that last sector, which is turns 9 to 14, is the fastest sector. Kicking off the new Asian Le Mans Series 2017-2018 was qualifying up here at Zhuhai, and the Jackie Chan DC Racing team, both cars, number 7 and number 8, driven by Thomas Leroy and Ho Pin Tung, dominated the session to beat out the orange and yellow BBT Ligier JSP2 of Pippo Durrani. In the LMP3 class, it was the KCMG team and the number 18 car of Josh Burden who put in the flying lap to beat out Win Motorsports' Richard Bradley, that would take second spot, and Jackie Chan's DC Racing's Guy Cosmo in third. And in the GT class, it was the FIST Team AAI entrance of the Mercedes-AMG GT3 and the BMW M6 GT3, driven by Rafael Marciello and Jesse Krohn, that would take the 2 spots in the GT grid, the 2 top spots in the GT grid, with Tianchi Racing Team's Massimiliano Visa in the Audi R8 LMS.
The grid got away cleanly at the start of the 4-hour marathon, with the Jackie Chan DC Racing Orica staying out in front ahead of the team's other entry. Further down the field though, the FIST Team AAI car was judged to have made a jump start and would be called into the pits for a drive-through penalty. There was also an early incident for the ARC Bratislava team, who, starting in 4th position, running wide in T1 and dropping them to the back of the field. David Rizzo's BBT Ligier in 3rd place was all over the back of the Orica in 2nd as the pair battled down the home straight, with the Orica pressured into making a mistake, allowing Rizzo to climb into 2nd place. Meanwhile, the Jackie Chan DC Racing Orica had further problems, being forced to stop on the circuit after just 10 minutes of the race. Luckily, they were able to rejoin at the rear of the field and quickly fought back into the top 10. The first yellow flag of the season arrived after a quarter of an hour due to some debris on the track following contact between Laurent in the lead car Orica and Lu Peng in the Audi R8 LMS TSRT entry. Nearly 50 minutes gone, Thomas Laurent came into the pits for a driver change, while the team repaired significant damage to the rear left of the car, causing them to lose valuable minutes. Rookie Harrison Newey was the new man in the car and rejoined the field with the team in 7th place. Meanwhile, the sister Orica car, driven by team co-owner Chinese driver David Cheng, was struggling badly with power steering problems, forcing it into the garage for major repairs. With an hour gone, it was the BBT's Ligier JSP2 who led the field. With another Ligier, that of Taiwan Beer GH Motorsport, out in front of the LMP2 category. Leading the GT class was the FIS team AAI Mercedes AMG GT3. Entering the 2nd hour of the race, current leader David Rizzo brought his BBT car into the pits, staying in the car and opting to stay on the same set of tyres, only receiving fuel. Meanwhile, more bad news for the Jackie Chan DC Racing No. 7 car, which had only managed 2 laps before coming back into the garage to continue the repairs. Rookie Harrison Newey then set about pulling back the time they lost in the pit, working his way back up to 2nd overall, closing steadily on the leader Rizzo. It was only a matter of time before the lead changed, and sure enough, Newey took it on lap 47. However, with Newey making a pit stop earlier than his rival, the lead changed back to BBT as the race approached the midway stage. Behind them, the number 25 Algarve Pro Racing car moved past the ARC Bratislava team to go into 3rd place overall. Just prior to the halfway point, the Taiwan Beer GH Motorsport team, who at the time were leading in the LMP3, were handed a drive-through penalty for a violation of FCY speed. KCMG then took over the class lead, with GH Motorsport in 2nd spot ahead of Win Motorsport. Just after the halfway mark, Douglas Koo in the Viper Nissan Racing Ligier JSP3 went off at turn 7, bringing out the yellow flag, while the marshals recovered his car. Getting back on the track, he went straight into the pits and handed over to Dominic Ang. But by the time the Malaysian was back out again, he was in 13th position. At the front, Harrison Newey in the Orica was comfortably ahead of the BBT car, which was now being driven by Anthony Liu. BBT had made an additional fuel stop earlier in the race, so they were almost a full lap behind. A puncture for Win Motorsport after 2.5 hours of the race gone cost them a lot of time. Meanwhile, Jackie Chan Racing were able to get the number 7 car back out on the track for an additional 7 laps, before more problems brought the car back in once again, and the team was forced to concede defeat. A spin and a flat-spotted tyre for the KCMG entry saw them pit early, allowing them to put class pole sitter Josh Burden into the car. Burden was a lap down on Sean Tong in the number 11 Ligier, but was lapping around 4 seconds a lap quicker and was able to take over the category lead when the Ligier came into the pits. While BBT put in an impressive performance over the weekend, the number 8 Jackie Chan DC Racing entry was in a class of its own, ultimately coming home a lap ahead of BBT, despite some nervy moments in the final few minutes when the Orica left the track. An otherwise faultless run from the team saw them claim an outstanding win in the Zhuhai 4 hours, with rookie driver Harrison Newey claiming his first win in his endurance racing debut. After fighting hard all race, the number 37 Ligier JSP2 from BBT came home second, with ARC Bratislava's Ligier JSP2 finishing third. Meanwhile, after a very tight battle for LMP3 honours, it was the pole sitter Ligier of KCMG that just beat out the Taiwan Beer GH Motorsport Ligier for the category win. Coming home third in the class was the third entry for Jackie Chan DC Racing car. In the GT class, the battle was even tighter. 6 seconds had separated the top 3 cars well into the final hour, with the 2 FIS Team AAI cars fighting particularly hard on track throughout the entire race. In the end, it was Jesse Krohn in the BMW M6 GT3 who came out on top, with the Mercedes battling braking issues that were getting progressively worse as the race went on. Rafael Marciello held on to give FIS Team AAI a 1-2 finish, with Max Weiser crossing the line to give the Audi Sport Customer Racing Asia by TSRT entry a 3rd place finish.
This is the round 1 results from Zhuhai Asian Le Mans Series, of course, 2017-2018. Look at the LMP2 class. Jackie Chan DC Racing up on top. Stefan Ricalmi, Harrison Newey and Thomas Laura, Anthony Zhu, David Rizzo and Pipo Durrani from BBT in 2nd. And going through to LMP3, Josh Byrne, Louis Pret and Eric White taking the top honours there. And in the GT, Junsan Chen and Jesse Krohn and Chaz Mostert taking the win there.
The game is just about to get started. The season made its way to Japan for round 2 at Fuji Speedway, a dream circuit coveted by many racers from all over the world.
In the shadow of Japan's stunning Mount Fuji lies a racing circuit that is known the world over. Boasting one of the longest straights in Asia and dramatic turns, the Fuji Speedway has seen some of the biggest names in motorsport create history. It is an unforgettable experience for all who get the chance to race here.
Mario Andretti has won the first Japanese Grand Prix.
世界遺産、世界文化遺産ということで、こちらも認定された富士山の麓ということで。
To be in this track, it's a dream. My dream is realized. I like Japan, and the people here is also nice, and it's very famous at the base of the Fuji mountain.
For almost half a century, the circuit has hosted all types of racing, from Formula One to the World Endurance Championship. And in 2017, it is the 2nd stop for the teams of the Asian Le Mans Series.
It's great to be driving in Japan, racing in Japan, especially in such a historic track like Fuji. I took a walk and saw the old circuit bend, and that was phenomenal. It's just a wonderful feeling. But to have a picture of your car with Mount Fuji as a backdrop, I hope to have that photograph today.
This course is a special course because near Mountain Fuji and near Tokyo. So this course have a long history. I am proud of racing here.
At almost 5 kilometers in length, with 16 turns that undulate through the foothills of the mountain itself, the Fuji Speedway is truly like no other, posing challenges that have made it a dream destination for drivers both from Japan and around the globe.
It is very much impressive to me. This is my dream.
At the end of the day, you come and you're in awe of where you are, and that's the biggest thing. It's an amazing circuit to come to. It has all the facilities we need. It's a great track and we all enjoy it.
As a Japanese driver, very proud to be racing here.
Britain's new world champion. What must he be thinking right now?
The historic circuit was the perfect setting for all the drama that went down in the 2nd race of the season. 4 hours of Fuji saw an exciting battle.
Now, having a look at the track, the 4.469 kilometer iconic Fuji Speedway, 16 turns, 6 lefts and 10 rights, broken up into 3 sectors, each sector around about 3 corners, but the first sector very fast, second corner very, very fast, and as you can tell, the third corner from turns 9 to turn 16, a little bit trickier.
So qualifying got underway with 15 minutes for the combined LMP2 and LMP3 field. It would be the team BBT Ligier that was out first, with the Jackie Chan DC Racing Orekas soon to follow. Just a few minutes later, it would be the turn of the GTs. Jesse Krohn in the number 91 FIS Team AI BMW M6 GT3. Late to the party, 5 minutes into the session before we saw the BMW. Marco Ciocci topped the times at a couple of points in the 15-minute session in the debuting Team AAI Ferrari 488. Jiangxi Racing, the early session leaders in the 66 Audi. But it would be the number 91 car, FIS Team AAI, to take pole position in the GT class. There is the grid, headed by the number 37 car from Team BBT. Then alongside on the front row, the number 8 Jackie Chan DC Racing Orica. Second row, the second of the Jackie Chan DC Racing cars, the number 7 Orica. 33 Eurasia Ligier completes the second row. Then the first of the LMP3 cars from KCMG, alongside another LMP2 car, ARC Bratislava's Ligier. Didn't quite get up with the leading order. Win Motorsports Ligier, the number 1 car, the Asia Le Mans Sprint Cup champions from this year, and the 65 Viper Racing team, with James Winslow joining the team this time out, make up the next row. Then it's the third of the Jackie Chan DC Racing cars, this time their LMP3 entry. Alongside on that row is the leader in the GT class, the FIS Team AAI BMW. We know that car's got pace.
The 4 hours of Fuji got off to an all-action start, with the 2 Jackie Chan DC Racing LMP2s vying for position with pole sitter Anthony Liu in the number 37 BBT. And although Liu kept the lead into the first corner of the day, Monaco driver Stefan Rakelmi soon passed him. Moments later, Liu was nudged by the other Jackie Chan DC Racing car, causing Liu to spin round and out in a disastrous development for the leader. Fortunately, however, he was able to rejoin almost immediately with little damage, albeit at the back of the field. However, the best start of the day went to the number 1 Win Motorsport Ligier, starting from 4th row of the grid, but by turn 1 had brilliantly moved into the top 5 for the LMP3 entry. Out in front, Rick Elmy was setting some cracking times, opening a lead of 14 seconds after just 6 laps. Behind him, DC Racing were being pressured by the number 4 ARC Bratislava entry, driven by Dutch youngster Rick Broekers. A classic midfield battle in the GT category between the FIS Team AAI entries saw them exchanging places a couple of times. Meanwhile, early trouble for the Japanese TKS Ginetta LMP3 entry, with Asian Le Mans Sprint Cup runner-up Shinyo Sano behind the wheel. An extended pit stop saw the car being pulled into the garage for a full 10 minutes with a broken electrical connector on the steering wheel. Back on track, ARC Bratislava took advantage of a minor mistake by Jackie Chan Racing's number 7 and going to second place, but still some distance from the lead. While just after the half-hour mark, pole sitter Anthony Liu's BBT had recovered from an early spin to edge past Jackie Chan DC Racing and into 3rd place. At the 1 hour mark, terminal trouble hit the number 1 Win Motorsport car when a major engine problem forced them into retirement. A disappointing end to what had been an excellent start to the race from the Hong Kong-based team. Sean Tong in the number 11 Taiwan Beer car then had a spin, but was able to rejoin the race moments later despite losing valuable seconds. Ahead of their first pit stop, the Tianchi Racing team in the Audi R8 LMS had over a minute gap to their GT rivals Team AAI. In fact, having started way down in 12th place, were now in 5th place overall, ahead of no fewer than 6 LMP2 and LMP3 cars. However, shortly after their pit stop, new driver Liu Peng was passed by Ollie Milroy in the number 90 car to surrender the GT lead. Drama hit the leading car in LMP3, with KCMG coming under pressure from Sean Tong in the number 11 car and spinning out. A few laps later, the Ligier was forced to stop on the track with a suspected broken drive shaft. But the main story in the second hour of the race was developing at the front, with Brazilian star Pipo Derani climbing aboard the BBT car, setting some blindingly quick laps. In fact, an incredible 6 fastest lap times during his first 30 minutes in the car, before finally overtaking the number 8 car on lap 56 to take the outright lead. For their next routine stops, the 2 leaders pitted at the same time. BBT's Pipo Derani, who had been struggling with vision due to some oil on his windscreen, was replaced by David Rizzo in the number 37 Ligier, while FIA WEC Rookie of the Year Thomas Laurent replaced Harrison Newey in the number 8 DC Racing car, looking to make up a 23-second gap to the leader. Behind them, Eurasia Motorsport had gone past Miro Konopka in the number 4 car to secure 4th position. Meanwhile, the battle for the LMP3 class victory was heating up, with nose-to-tail racing between the Taiwan beer car and the Jackie Chan entry. Ultimately, with DC Racing edging into the lead and starting to pull a gap. Out in front though, the seesaw battle between the number 8 and the number 37 continued, with Thomas Laurent now reeling in the BBT car as the pair entered traffic on the track. In a stunning passage of action, Laurent took the lead in breathtaking fashion as the cars went either side of the TRST Audi with a little over an hour remaining. With 45 minutes to go, the number 11 received a drive-through penalty for a pit lane infringement, meaning Guy Cosmo in the number 6 car extended his lead in the LMP3 class. Things were to get worse for the Taiwan beer car, with mechanical issues forcing the car to stop on the track for a disappointing finish. In the GT category, the Team AAI pair were fighting neck and neck all afternoon long. But in the dying moments of the race, car 91 received a 2-second stop-and-go penalty for a violation of the mandatory pit stop time. That delay gave the Ferrari just enough space to claim the category lead. Coming in third place in GT was the number 66 TRS team entry, the Audi trio putting in a spirited display for the whole race. That left the way clear for Cosmo to bring home the number 6 to claim victory in the LMP3 category from the number 65 Viper Nissan Racing entry. And in a crazy turn of events, after struggling with issues all weekend, it was Japan's TKS team who would claim the final podium position at their home track. But in the top-ranked LMP2 category, it was Thomas Laurent who in the end drove to a comfortable victory, with the rising French star well ahead of BBT's David Rizzo by the checkered flag.
Now let's take a look at the full results from the 4 hours of Fuji. It was a great drive from the Jackie Chan DC Racing team as they take the win in the LMP2 class and the win in the LMP3 class as well. A great drive from Guy Cosmo and Patrick Byrne there. And in the GT class, it was FIS Team AAI that took both top and second spot with car number 90 and car number 91. All in, it was a great effort from all the teams and a wonderful day of racing up here at Fuji. In the overall standings, it is the Jackie Chan DC Racing team that lead the way in the LMP2 and LMP3 class, with FIS Team AI well ahead in the GT category. And that brings us to the close of the 4 hours of Fuji.
Moving on to round 3, Buriram, Thailand presents a different set of challenges as we were introduced to the first 6-hour race of the series. Now I am seated in one of the cockpit of the LMP3 cars and I cannot even begin to imagine how is it like out there on the track when you're in such a tight space, when you're going at that speed, those temperatures. Surely it's a challenging environment for any driver, but how is it like for a gentleman driver who doesn't do it professionally but instead just out of passion? Well, let's find out.
Something new this time round, a longer race day for the Asian Le Mans drivers here at the Buriram International Circuit. Tough enough for any professional driver, but what about the gentleman drivers? How do they approach a race that lasts 6 hours?
The team usually asks you just to do the minimum time. And for this 6-hour race, my minimum time is, I think, 1 hour, 45 minutes, which translates to about 2 stints.
You have to be incredibly fit because these things are going so fast. And most guys can get in after a good bit of testing, can get in and do a 45-minute stint and they're pretty much finished. But if you're down the gym, you know, putting in probably 5-6 hours a week of proper training, you know, you can get 2 stints out of yourself, so an hour and a half in the car.
I work out on a daily basis. I take care of my diet. During race weekends it's sometimes difficult and you need a lot of carbs and you need energy.
So what advice could a professional driver give to any gentleman who has to deal with such trying conditions?
You have to learn and train your body to sweat so that you are accustomed to it on these race weekends. Because when you're in the race car, it gets really hot. And you're not in the car for 30 minutes like you are all throughout practice and qualifying. You're in the car for an hour, 2 hours. Really got to be able to train your body to deal with the heat and rehydrate.
Communication is key when it comes to the endurance race, and like my job as a pro to the gentleman drivers, just to really help them develop over the weekend. They're always looking for more performance, but also how to manage themselves over a stint and look after the car as well.
You know, you get some guy like John Graham, 62 years old, he's driving around here like Billio. You wouldn't believe how fast he is. You know, 175 miles an hour down the straight, smashing a brake pedal, taking off 125 miles an hour in 60 metres. It's like trying to rip your head off. And then you've got to manage it, come down the back straight, smash the brake pedal, get the car slowed down to 60k, get the limiter on. It's incredibly brutal.
It's an experience that is unique to endurance racing and welcomed by the Asian Le Mans Series this season.
The drivers were physically and mentally prepared come race day, but a longer duration on the track calls for a different set of strategies and even regulations. So 6 hours of Buriram will definitely put the teams and their cars to the test. How did they perform?
Here we are at the 4.554 kilometre circuit. The Buriram International Circuit, one of the world's newest Class 1 circuits, of course. 12 turns.
That's right, 12 turns. It was set up around about 2014, 7 rights and 5 lefts. Very flat indeed, very fast section up front. Then, of course, from 4 to 8, it starts getting a little bit twisty and turny, and then very fast all the way back to the straight again.
Qualifying got underway at Buriram International Circuit with the LMP cars out first. 5 LMP2s, 5 LMP3s. It was Pipa Durrani in the Team BBT 37 car that was quickest from the off, looking to head for the hills and get a gap over the Jackie Chan DC Racing Oricas. Number 7 car in the hands of Jazeman Jafar, number 8 car in the hands of Thomas Laurent. The young Frenchman closing the gap lap by lap and then finally taking the lead, trying to go away from the Brazilian. But it would be a very close run thing in all 3 classes. And Laurent finally making pole position, but it would be mighty close. LMP3 was very close at the start of the session. Several of the cars, including the number 6 Jackie Chan DC Racing car, in the mix, as was the number 1 Win Racing Ligier. Also to the top of the timing and scoring just for moments, but it was Josh Burden that took control of the session midway through in the number 18 KCMG car, eventually pulling out a mighty gap of around a second. The young Australian truly has unlocked the LMP3 code in the Asian Le Mans Series. GT qualifying got underway with Ollie Mulroy bringing out the re-liveried FIS Team AAI Ferrari 488 and setting in some banker laps, trying to set a time that would be difficult for the chasing cars to match. Max Visa, though, in the number 66 Tianchi Racing Audi, with a bit of a performance balance change this weekend, was up for the task. Team NZ's Porsche back in action for the last 2 races of the season. The BMW late to the party would go faster than everybody else very quickly for Hesse Krohn, but drama right at the end of the session would lose those times to track limits. Ollie Mulroy, unaware as he grabbed what he thought was second place, it would turn out to be pole position, with the Audi closing to just 1,000th of a second back at the flag. Here is the grid. It will be on the number 8 car. Stefan McCelmy will be starting in that car, alongside on the front row of the grid. It will be the number 37 BBT car, 9,000ths of a second the gap in their class, and Anthony Zhuliu will be aboard his car, the 37 car. So row 2 will be the number 7 and the number 4 Jackie Chan DC Racing second car. They now all Malaysian crewed Orica, with Jazeman Jafar, who qualified yesterday just a 10th off pole. ARC Bratislava starting the car with Konstantin Skalko. In LMP2, it was pole position once again for Josh Burden in the number 18 car, but it will be Louis Pretz aboard the car this afternoon to start the race. Algarve Pro Racing, a bit of trouble at the end of qualifying, but Dean Koutsamidis will start the number 25 car. That completes row 3. Row 4 is the third of the Jackie Chan DC Racing cars. This time their LMP3 entry, Guy Cosmo, the American racer, will be aboard that car. They lead the championship after that problem at Fuji for KCMG. 65, we've got Nigel Moore in the Viper Racing team. Then we get into the GT cars. That was Ollie Mulroy aboard the AAI Ferrari, 1,000th of a second ahead of the 66 Audi, with the problems with track limits causing the second car to be at the back of the grid behind the returning GT Cup Porsche of Team NZ.
The first ever 6-hour race in the series got off to a strong start, with pole sitter Stefan Rakelmi in the Jackie Chan DC Racing car holding off Anthony Liu into the first turn. But it wasn't long before Riquelme's Malaysian stablemate, Jasmine Jafar, passed Liu to go up into second place, with the ARC Bratislava team recovering from a hesitant start to hold on to fourth position. In the LMP3 category, pole sitter Louis Pret in the KCMG Ligier maintained his lead, while behind him, reigning LMP3 champion Nigel Moore for the Viper Nissan racing team fought his way through the grid to catch Pret. In GT, just as in qualifying, there was an intense battle between Max Weiser in the Audi and Ollie Mulroy in the Ferrari, with Weiser benefiting here as the bright orange BBT car lapped them both. There was drama for Hans Lin in the Taiwan beer car after a big spin, although he did manage to get back on track. Meanwhile, in the pits, there were unusual scenes, as Jafar ran over a traffic cone at the exit. The cone ended up stuck underneath the car, pushing engine and brake temperatures too high, forcing a return to the pits. At the start of the second hour, the GT class Ferrari made contact with an LMP3 car in traffic, causing a puncture for the Ferrari and an immediate trip back to the pits. That incident sparked a full course yellow period as a result of debris on the track, with several cars using the opportunity to pit for their first stop. Trouble next hit the number 65 Viper Nissan car, first when it stopped on the apex of turn 12, then a spin, before being handed a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Meanwhile, William Locke in the Win Motorsport car was making good progress in the LMP3 category. Chinese youngster Chen was also running well in the Tianqi Racing Audi R8. Halfway through the second hour, the number 90 Ferrari had to pit again after struggling with pace following an earlier impact, and was wheeled back into the garage for repairs, eventually making its way back on track, but not before losing 6 laps to the sister car, the FIS team AAI's BMW. Australian Chaz Mostert was the man behind the wheel of the BMW, and the team set about closing the gap to the GT leading Audi. However, out in front overall, Harrison Newey was putting in some solid lap times to hold a lead of just over half a minute. Hour 3, and Mostert continued his good work to catch and pass the green Audi to unlap himself and to cut the gap further. Halfway through the third hour, number 25 Algarve Pro Racing fell victim to a puncture after a fantastic stint by John Graham, who safely steered the Ligier back to the pits. As the end of the third hour approached, the number 11 Taiwan beer car caught Patrick Byrne in the number 6 car, passing on the inside to take the lead in the LMP3 class, having started 4th in class. In the GT category, Mostert's stunning lap times finally closed the gap between his BMW and the leading Audi, Mostert taking over the category lead just as the halfway point of the 6-hour marathon ticked over. Meanwhile, out in front for LMP2, Harrison Newey continued to lead with the Jackie Chan DC racing car looking very comfortable. But you can never get too comfortable in endurance racing, as the number 7 Jackie Chan car was able to catch and pass Thomas Laurent, who had taken over from Newey in the sister car, going through on the inside after a minor mistake by the Frenchman allowed the Malaysian Wiron-Tan to take the outright lead. Behind them, the BBT Ligier, driven by Pippo Durrani, was a man on a mission, chasing down the leading pair. 4th in the LMP2 category was ARC Bratislava, with Miro Konopka finishing a mammoth stint and handing over to Colombian Gustavo Yackerman. In LMP3, the battle between the two top runners was intense throughout the 4th hour, with Josh Burden flying through in the KCMG car and taking the lead in the class before handing over to his teammate Louis Pret. At the head of the field, the two Oricas were locked in a very tight battle, with absolutely nothing between them. Thomas Laurent began the 5th hour at the front, but Wiron-Tan in the number 7 car took over the lead as Laurent fought admirably to stay in touch despite a developing gear shift issue. Meanwhile, the sister car Jackie Chan DC Racing number 6 in the LMP3 category had a massive problem with power steering and was forced to come into the pits as the mechanics set about trying to work their magic. The Algarve Pro Racing car spun off at turn 7 after what appeared to be an impact to the front left of the car that led to another brief full course yellow period. In the GT category, the number 66 car started the hour in front, but was soon passed by Finnish star Jesse Krohn in the number 91 car. While in the GT Cup class, Team EZ continued to head towards the checkered flag after a solid stint from John Curran. With 40 minutes to go, both Wiron Tan and Thomas Laurent took their team's final pit stops, with the number 7 coming in and leaving first, while Laurent handed over to Harrison Newey for the final laps. Newey was losing some serious time to the leader due to the car's ongoing issues. Meanwhile, a hard-charging Pippo Durrani was chasing but didn't have enough pace to close the gap before the end of the race and would stay in third. In the LMP3 category, the KCMG team was able to consolidate its lead of a couple of laps over the Taiwan Beer entry after what had been a hard-fought race. While in the GT class, the number 91 car ended up with a 2-lap lead at the end of the race. So it was the all-Malaysian lineup in Jackie Chan DC Racing that took the race win in the LMP2 category, with their second place number 8 car gaining a healthy lead at the top of the championship, 19 points ahead of BBT, who finished third in Thailand.
So here are the results for the 6 hours of Buriram. It's another win for the Jackie Chan DC Racing team in the LMP2 class, a return to form for the KCMG team in the LMP3 class as they take top honours, and in the GT class, FIS Team AAI power their way to a win, setting up a great finale for Sepang, and in the GT Cup, Team NZ managed to finish the race.
So the season moved to its final round in Sepang, Malaysia, as the championship title battle gets more intense. And in Sepang, we saw a few Malaysian drivers driving on home ground. So one of them is Nabil Jeffrey here at the back, who made pole position. So let's get to know these Malaysian drivers a little better.
It may have been the finale for the 2017-2018 Asian Le Mans Series at the Sepang International Circuit, but it was also a bright new start for Malaysian motorsport, with an unprecedented number of Malaysian drivers on the grid for the fourth and final round of the season. All local heroes, all honoured to showcase their skills to the world at home.
I just love the feeling being able to race in front of the guys from Malaysia, you know, because you don't really have much Malaysian drivers around, so it's nice to be here.
We need to prove it to Sepang, to the Malaysian, that we are the best lineup now.
It's a very special track, I think. I think a lot of people like testing here, like racing here, and it means a lot.
Being at home, especially in the last round, and you know, and the championship is at stake, so definitely it's a big push to do well in our home circuit.
Now that we're back in Sepang, home soil, it's great to actually finish the season here. Both Dominic and I obviously raced here quite a fair bit, so we're very excited to be able to try and get a good finish this race.
I'm excited simply because it's not just family and friends, it's an event for all. But my first focus is to finish Sepang on a high, finish the season and enjoy myself in this world of endurance racing.
It's the biggest stage for these hometown heroes, and after recording the first ever all-Malaysian driver team win of the 2017-2018 season, it's also the perfect platform to take Malaysia to even more endurance racing success in the future.
These Malaysian drivers get home advantage now that we're in Sepang, or will other drivers come out on top? It's a race to the very end. Let's find out who we crowned as champion.
So here is the Sepang International Circuit for the 4 hours of Sepang. 5.54 kilometers, 15 turns, 10 rights, 5 lefts. Flat out sector 1. There's 3 sectors on this course. High downforce on sector 2, a lot of braking coming into sector 3, and then those 2 massive straights on turns 14 and turns 15 to take us back to the start line.
Well, the LMP cars, P2s and the P3s, were out first for qualifying. 2 15-minute sessions, of course, and in 11 cars, 6 in LMP2, 5 in LMP3. We expected great things from the Jackie Chan DC Racing cars, the 8 and the 7, the all-Malaysian crude cars. Indeed, they were right in the mix at the start of the 15-minute session. 65 car in the hands of Nigel Moore. The Viper Nisa Racing team, locally based of course, was very much in the mix, up to second position overall. We waited to see what Pipo Derani could actually produce in the number 37 team BBT Ligier. Josh Burden, though, was soon up to speed and leading the LMP3 class in the 18 KCMG Ligier GSP3. He's been class of the field in qualifying trim throughout the season. The number 33 car, though, the Eurasia team, making their reappearance with Nabil Jeffrey taking the qualifying duties with the Sepang International Circuit. Back 33 car was soon at the top of timing and scoring, and they led the session home as the others bailed out under the pressure from the Malaysian driver. Next up were the GT cars, the number 90 car in the hands of Ollie Milroy, the 488 GT3, looked initially to have the pace of the field, with the BMW once again just soft pedaling a little at the start of the session. Jiangxi Racing, though, in their Audi R8, the number 66 car in the hands of Warren Gilbert, another locally based driver, thought better, and they came out punched harder still, made their move to the top of timing and scoring. At one point, the three cars separated by 0.2 of a second. But it was Hesse Krohn, the Finnish driver, making his way from duties last weekend at Daytona to duty this weekend in Malaysia. In the 91 car that first went to top of timing and scoring, then a hammer blow to the rest of the field. Fought back to initially 3/4 of a second advantage, pitted the car, while Warren Gilbert actually came back to 0.2 back, and the 77 car, the number 77 Team NZ Porsche, in the hands of Graham Dowsett, they came home, of course, to lead home GT Cup.
Here are the start positions for the 4 hours of Sepang. Great performance from Eurasia Motorsport to grab pole in the LMP2 class ahead of BBT. In the LMP3 class, KCMG with another pole, and FIS Team AI take pole position in the GT class.
There was action right from the start of the 4 hours of Sepang, as the lights went out and a crowded field vied for position. Eurasia Motorsport's Marco Asma was the man in control from pole position, but he was overhauled by both of the Jackie Chan DC Racing Team cars, as well as by Nigel Moore in the Viper Nisa Racing's LMP3 car, which had started on the third row of the grid. In the end, it was Frenchman Thomas Laurent who hit the front, followed by Malaysian driver Jasmine Jafar. KCMG had started in the LMP3 pole, but fell back to be 5th in class and 10th overall after a poor start. Meanwhile, the officials took another look at the start and handed a penalty to the number 4 ARC Bratislava car for a jump start. In the GT category, Max Weiser in the number 66 Audi had a great start, shooting into the hotly contested GT division lead right from the start, a position he would hold for some time. Asma, the pole sitter, made up some lost ground early on, passing Nigel Moore on the straight to go into 3rd position. But up ahead, Jafar was putting pressure on his stablemate and European Le Mans Rookie of the Year, Thomas Laurent. To the delight of the home fans, the Malaysian went past him about 20 minutes into the race and into the lead. With half an hour gone, the number 25 Algarve Pro Racing stopped on the track with issues that, sadly, were to prove terminal, with the car unable to rejoin the race. That brought out the safety car to recover the stranded vehicle, prompting a flurry of pit stops, one of which saw a lead change in the LMP3 category, as team owner William Locke took advantage of a driver change to take his Win Motorsport car into the lead. Meanwhile, Graham Dowsett and the Team NZ Porsche was making steady progress in the GT Cup before heading over to teammate Will Bamber. In LMP3, Hong Kong driver Sean Tong was showing his prowess with an impressive overtake in the Taiwan beer car on Patrick Byrne driving the number 6 Jackie Chan car. None of the cars were giving an inch on the track, all going flat out around the circuit to reach their maximum instead of being content simply to consolidate championship points. Next, it was Nabil Jeffrey's turn to show off his stuff in the Eurasia entry, as he looked to put a successful move on Thomas Laurent. But as each went around a different side of an LMP3 car, Laurent was able to hold on to 2nd place and frustrate Jeffrey. Meanwhile, after a few driver changes and some position swaps, Harrison Newey and Pipo Derani in their 3rd and 4th respectively were closing in on the 2 Malaysian leaders. But in the GT category, the number 66 car still led, with Chen building on Max Wise's solid double stint in the Audi at the start of the race.
The final Asian Le Mans Series weekend of the 2018 championship also hosted the first ever esports endurance race, courtesy of the Sepang International Circuit and Race Room Entertainment. Saturday even saw some of the top drivers race simulators before actual qualifying, setting times for the gamers themselves to match as they fought to earn their place for the final esports endurance race and a chance to win the ultimate prize pool of over 5,000 ringgit.
As the race moved past the halfway point, the top 3 cars were all within a few seconds of each other, with Eurasia's number 33 car leading the race from the 2 Jackie Chan entries. Further back, the gap between Wei and Tong at the head of the LMP3 category was down to less than 10 seconds. Just moments later though, Tong had eaten away any remaining gap and moved past his rival to take 5th position overall and the LMP3 category lead. Worse was to come for Wei, as he soon came under pressure from Guy Cosmo charging hard behind him. Over in the GT category, Jesse Krohn in the BMW was just fractionally ahead of the number 90 Ferrari, both cars of course from the FIS team AAI. BBT was making excellent progress in the LMP2 category, with Pippo Durrani handing over to David Rizzo. After slipping back earlier in the race after starting from the front row of the grid, BBT was now making some great progress through the field. Meanwhile, Guy Cosmo was almost on the tail of Nerik Wee, with the 2 cars going head-to-head for the championship, divided in the standings by just a single point. Burrett then had a desperate piece of luck, first getting into trouble as he went off the track, and then hitting the gravel a second time around with the car buried. That brought out the safety car again, while Mitch Gilbert, who had just got into the leading GT car, the number 66 Audi, finding himself stuck on the main straight and be forced to watch the field file past him. The last hour of the final race of the season was perhaps the most dramatic of all, with action all the way up to the checkered flag. Near the front of the field, Weiron Tan in the number 7 car was closing in on Stefan Riquelme in the number 8 car. But Riquelme was still looking good for the title, given his team's comfortable lead in the standings. However, in a dramatic twist to the race in Sepang, race leader Jake Parsons spun his Eurasia car, giving the lead away to the 2 Jackie Chan entries. Unbelievably, the 12th lead change of the race. Moreover, Parsons now had BBT's David Rizzo in 4th place right on his heels. Meanwhile, the FIS team AAI Ferrari was able to rejoin after a lengthy stoppage. With the Audi already out of contention, this gave the FIS team a 1-2 that secured 2 invites to join the LMGTE class at this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. Back in the LMP2 category, there was more vying for podium positions, as the Jackie Chan car passed the number 37 with the end of the race fast approaching. In the final moments, the KCMG entry with Josh Burden behind the wheel was in the lead of the LMP3 class. However, a penalty for not meeting their required pit stop time saw them receive a 1-second stop-and-go penalty, just enough of a delay to concede the lead to the number 6 car. Gabriel Aubrey then brilliantly fended off Burden's late challenge to bring the car home first to claim the LMP3 class win, and, crucially, the all-important invitation for his team to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. There was more drama at the front when BBT was able to overtake the number 7 car in the pits when the 7 couldn't start, allowing BBT to claim 2nd place. But just ahead of them, Stefan Riquelme had no such issues on his final pit stop and successfully negotiated the final laps to claim the win and with it, the title.
The results of the 4 Hours of Sepang Jackie Chan DC Racing Team take top honours in both the LMP2 and LMP3 classes. FIS Team AI take the GT class title, and Team NZ complete the GT Cup. So congratulations to Jackie Chan DC Racing for taking the LMP2 and LMP3 classes, with a strong finish from Team BBT fighting them at every turn. Second spot in LMP3 was down to the wire, with KCMG, though ending up on exactly the same points as Taiwan BAGH Motorsport, taking second spot based on most wins during the series. while FIS Team AAI took the title in the GT class through consistency and reliability that simply couldn't be matched by Tianchi Racing. The 2017-2018 Asian Le Mans Series will be remembered for so many reasons. There were headlines, there was history made, with down-to-the-wire finishes for every class championship, and there's only more to come.
I can't wait for the next season to start because we managed to put together a calendar which is still a winter calendar, but much better, improved. For the 2018-2019 season, we are going to start after Macau, not clashing with any major event in Asia, going to Grade 1 racetracks only.
And the chosen ones are the top tracks in Asia. First, a return to Shanghai, a familiar venue for the World Endurance Championship, and now back with the Asian Le Mans Series for the first time since 2014. Then it's drama at the foot of the mountain, with a return to the iconic Fuji Speedway for round 2. A return for round 3 to Buriram follows that to thrill the thousands in Thailand on National Children's Day. And a finale once again at one of the best in the world, the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia.
So location-wise, time-wise, this calendar looks very attractive. Look forward to starting the next season for sure.
With millions reached this year from the series going live to air globally, the 2018-2019 Asian Le Mans Series is set to be the biggest and best ever. 4 circuits, 4 countries, 4-hour races, and 4 more invitations to the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
What a season it has been. We kicked it off in Zhuhai, China, and then in round 2 we went to Japan, where the teams got to race at the iconic Fuji Speedway. In round 3 we were in Buriram, Thailand, where we witnessed the first 6-hour race of the series. And then we crossed the finish line in Sepang, Malaysia. So lessons were learned and victories well earned, and those victories and achievements were recognized right here tonight at the award ceremony. We gave out prizes to the winners of each category. Also, some special awards were given out: Team of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and Man of the Year. And we would also like to say thank you to you for being with us throughout the entire season. And a huge shout out to the organizers, the partners, and the racing teams. We're looking forward to a stronger and better season come November, so we'd like for you to join us. Until then, goodbye.